Hi everyone. Today's lesson is unlike denominators. We're going to be using two methods to find a common denominator for the following fractions. We're going to evaluate each of them, basically simplify, but we need a common denominator. The first method is finding a common denominator by multiplying one denominator by the other. So at the end, we might need to simplify. That's just all that it says. You may need to simplify at the end, you may not. But remember, in this chapter, every single final answer needs to be simplified. So we have 5 6 plus 2 fifths. So a common denominator between 6 and 5, an easy way to find that is simply to multiply the fraction, the first fraction by the second denominator, and the second fraction by the first denominator. And not just that number, but that number over itself. So for example, the first one would be 5 over 5. And the second one would be multiplying by 6 over 6. Because you're multiplying, technically, each of the fractions by 1. And 1 doesn't change what the fraction means. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30. So our common denominator is going to be 30 here. 2 times 6 is 12. 5 times 6, 30 again. Go ahead and add the numerators, the rules that we follow normally for fractions. Once the denominators are the same, you can add the numerators. 25 plus 12, 37 thirtieths. Now, that's not a pretty, it's correct, but it's not a pretty way of writing it. You can also say 1 and 7 thirtieths. Either of those answers will be accepted. It's a little bit easier to write in the mixed number. In the second one, we have 1/4 minus 5 sevenths. And the first fraction we want to multiply by 7 over 7. The second one by 4 over 4, the opposite denominators. And remember, we're actually multiplying each of them by 1, which is a legal operation in math because it doesn't change inherently what the fraction means. So we have 7 over 28 minus 20 28ths. 7 take away 20. Now we're doing some of our integer work. 7 take away 20 would then be negative 13 because they're different, so subtract and keep the sign a larger, negative 13 28ths. And I don't think that can be simplified any further, so we're done there. Moving on, the second method works best when you have denominators that actually have factors into one another. So it says find the least common denominator, which is the least common multiple of the two denominators. You will not have to simplify at the end. So 1/2 plus d, and we're going to let d equal 5/6. So I'm just going to rewrite that with the replacement of d, 1/2 plus 5/6. And we're going to notice that 2 can go into 6 evenly. So the 6, the fraction with the 6, we're not going to have to change. The 1/2 is the only one we're going to have to multiply by, and we need to get to 6, 6 being our common denominator. So we're going to multiply by 3 over 3. Now remember, we're actually multiplying by 1. So it doesn't change our fraction. So it'd be 3/6 plus 5/6, 3 plus 5, 8/6. And then we're going to simplify that completely. So we'd have 6 goes into 8, 1 and 2/6, which would be 1 and 1/3. The second one, we have 5/16 and 3/8. 8 can go into 16, so we can multiply the second fraction by 2 over 2. 5/16 plus 6/16, which is going to be 11/16. Thank you.